Are you tired of guessing, trying, and failing to get more milk in less time with your breast pump? Have you spent hours on Google trying to figure out why your milk supply isn't where it should be? It's likely that you and your pump are not the problem. Today in part 2 of Pumping Efficiently, I've got 5 more powerful steps that will help you pump more milk in less time. And these are actually real tricks that come from our Pumping Efficiently DIY course, which we built on data-driven principles and real-life practices that have been tried and proven to be true by hundreds of coaching clients. If you've been struggling, stay tuned. By the end of this video, you'll know more about letdowns, how to know if your breast is fully emptied, flange sizing, and more. If you want the full framework, I'll tell you how you can get it. I recently posted this video on pumping efficiently, 5 steps to pump more milk in less time. And in it, we talked about the proficient pumping pyramid, which is a methodology that I've developed after working with thousands of breastfeeding and pumping moms. And while it was a very popular video and helpful to so many, I must say I'm concerned with how many comments I received asking questions that are specific to a single mom's journey. Things like, I pump X amount of times every day and I only get this many ounces. Is that normal? Or how do I know when I'm having a letdown? Or I feel like I've tried everything and I'm still not making enough milk. So today I wanted to do a follow-up to that video to answer some of your most commonly questions that you were asked about pumping efficiently. I also want to introduce you to the new Pumping Efficiently course that will be offered from New Life starting in October 2025. I developed this course because I know that the best way to help the most moms possible isn't to answer each one of your individual questions, because honestly, there is not enough hours in the day. And to be honest, you probably know your own body best. My biggest goal is to empower each of you to become your own pumping expert so that you can troubleshoot issues, fix them, and find calm, confidence, and peace in your unique pumping journeys without having to rely on anyone else. If you want to learn more about that DIY course, there's a link down in the description for you. I've said this before on the channel, but pumping is so much more of an art than an exact science, right? I don't know if you can see my art back here, but this is what it's all about. It's half science and half practical, creative solutions to the problems that you actually have. Let's jump into your 5 most asked questions about pumping efficiently. Okay, number 1, we're going to talk about letdowns. All right. A letdown is when the lobes storing the milk inside your breasts are contracted and the milk inside is sent down and out. It's also known as a milk ejection reflex. Letdowns feel different for everyone, and not everyone even feels them. If you haven't really noticed them while breastfeeding, you might be able to better recognize them when you're pumping because you have a lot of visual access there. When you have a letdown, you'll be able to see it, hear it, kind of the milk dropping into the bottle. Sometimes it makes a little plop sound. When feeding at the breast, you might hear your baby taking in big, slow swallows, or some women do feel it too. What does it feel like? Again, this is different for a lot of moms. Some don't feel anything, which can be normal. But the more you pay attention, the more you'll figure out what a letdown looks or feels like for you. Here are some examples of things that mothers have said before. Feeling a tingling or pins and needles in the breasts. Sometimes you can actually see or hear the milk flow increase, like I mentioned. You might see a rush of milk inside the pump tubing. Sometimes, like if you're feeding at the breast, you can hear the baby swallowing. Your breast might suddenly feel heavy or full. You may feel tired or just generally relaxed, and occasionally some moms will experience other feelings such as itching, nausea, headaches, or negative emotions. This is less common, but it definitely happens. So why do letdowns matter? Triggering multiple letdowns is one of the simplest ways to increase your milk output. If you only have one letdown while you're pumping, you could be leaving up to 50% of the milk behind. This is usually one of the biggest breakthroughs that I've seen when working with clients. Leaving milk behind signals the body that that milk is not needed. So going back to the supply and demand concepts that we've discussed in the last Pumping Efficiently video, you're basically telling your body that it's supplying more milk than your baby needs. And in turn, your body will start producing less. When you trigger more than one letdown per pumping session, you're able to better drain the milk out of your breast, which signals your body, hey, we need to keep up that amount, fill it back up. And that's how you effectively manage a supply. In our Pumping Efficiently course, we have a whole module teaching moms how to encourage multiple letdowns without spending too much time attached to the pump. And most importantly, intentionally. You have to tell the pump what to do to send the signals that your body needs to make and let down more milk. This isn't the case with the baby at the breast, but your breast pump is a robot. A few of these tips include switching between stimulation and expression mode multiple times, paying more attention to your letdowns and what causes them, using visualizations, adjusting your flange shields, etc. only pumping through one letdown or not really understanding this process really is like one of the number one mistakes I have worked with pumping moms in helping them find better control and better output of their milk supplies. And this leads us into another one of our most asked questions, and that is, how do I know if my breasts are fully empty? I often get asked, how do I know how long I should pump for? Or how do I know when I'm done? Well, the best question here would actually be, how do I know when my breasts are fully emptied? I think it's important to note here that your breasts won't ever be fully empty simply because they are continually producing milk. So maybe empty isn't the right word, but we do want to drain as much milk as possible out of the breast because this is, again, what's going to signal your body that it's producing the right amount of milk. You can also use this signal to tell it that it needs to produce more milk if you're running into some low supply problems. Remember, it's the law of supply and demand. So how do you know if your breasts have been well drained? Well, there's a few ways. And again, we go into this way more in depth inside that Pumping Efficiently course and kind of show you how to use it in the actual practice of pumping. But I still want to provide you with some good and helpful answers here. So here's a few signs that you have drained as much milk as possible from your breasts in one pumping session. If you've already had multiple letdowns, okay, more than one, and you're not able to incite a new letdown in a reasonable amount of time. If you stop after just one letdown, high chances are you're leaving milk behind, all right? Watch for that milk to restart again. You should be getting 2 to 4 letdowns per pumping session. Again, you usually do have to trigger those more intentionally when you're using a breast pump. After removing the pump, try hand expressing some milk. If you're getting drops out, if it's really hard, or if you're getting squirts of milk with your hands, that's a sign that there is still easy milk left in there that we didn't get out with the pump. Hand expressing at the end of a pumping session is an excellent tool for helping you kind of gauge how empty your breasts are or if you're leaving milk behind. Your breasts should feel lighter and softer, and that can be another indication that your breasts may be well drained. This looks different for everyone, and if you have larger breasts, sometimes this can be really tricky too. Also, the further postpartum you get, you may not be feeling those full and empty sensations quite as much, but that can be something to help you gauge as well. Another sign that you might be struggling in this area to fully empty is if you see good and immediate results by doing power pumping. There's another video on the channel on power pumping. This is a sign that you are not well draining the breasts in one session. You aren't going to make 2 additional ounces of milk in a 10-minute break. Okay, so if you're getting high volumes when you power pump, way more than normal, and then much lower when you're doing regular pumping sessions, that is where you probably also see most of the milk come out in the first 5 to 7 minutes. That is a sign that you're not draining breasts fully when you sit down for a session. Now, I know your next question might be, how long should it take? Unfortunately, there isn't really a specific amount of time I can give you, again, because everyone's a little different. Some moms can pump really efficiently in around 15 minutes. I've had clients who have gotten really good at this process, have really solid milk supplies, and like 15 minutes, they're done. Others may take upwards of 40 minutes. I usually tell the moms that I work with, if it takes over 30 minutes to fully empty your breast, there's clear room for improvement there. If you're only pumping 10 minutes and saying, I got all the milk out and then it was done, that's usually a red flag for me. I'd say probably 20 to 30 minutes is pretty average. So here's my best answer in terms of how long pumping should take. Next time you pump, observe how long it took you. Make sure you had more than one letdown and that your breasts were as fully drained as possible. Did that take you 15 minutes, 20, 30? Every pumping session might be a little bit different too. I had a client one time who said that her morning session took about 40 minutes. She had a pretty big oversupply, had a lot of milk to drain in the morning, but she was able to do her ones during the day between 15 and 20 minutes because she really was a good pumper. Just that morning one had a lot of milk. So it can vary a little bit during the day as well. But I think knowing on average how long it takes you to have a few letdowns might help remove some of the anxiety when you're sitting down at the pump. Third question that I got on that previous video, is it too late to increase my milk supply? We hear so many myths around milk supply, and there's one myth that's pretty widespread that people have just kind of started accepting as fact, and that is the myth that once your milk supply has been established or regulated, sometimes I hear that word, it's too late to increase it. Many moms believe that after a certain point, like 4 to 6, 12 weeks, I've heard a lot of different things, that their milk supply is established and set in stone and they can't boost their milk supply at all. And it's simply not true. Your milk supply is dynamic and responds to removal frequency, the efficiency of how it's done, and stimulation. I'm going to repeat these a million times today, right? Remember the rule of supply and demand. There is also another video on the channel on milk supply regulation if you have questions around that topic. But even if your milk supply feels stuck, there are often things that are overlooked, such as, a valve issue, flange fit, ineffective or inefficient letdowns, stress, inconsistent removal. I usually send people through the proficient pumping pyramid again with objective eyes and say, what is not working as well as it should right now? There's usually always something that we can optimize. So what is the window of opportunity? The sooner you optimize, the faster you see results, okay? So the closer to birth you are, the easier it can be. But I've had many clients come in late, maybe say between 4 and 8 months, and still be able to double or at least significantly increase their output after making adjustments. One client told me within 5 weeks, I went from undersupplying to producing 15 ounces consistently, and pumping doesn't hurt anymore. Another client went from pumping 10 ounces a day to having an oversupply and actually ended up donating a lot of her milk by the end. Here are a few things that you can do starting today to increase your milk supply, no matter how far into your breastfeeding journey you are. First step, troubleshoot your pumping setup. Is your flange size right? Are the pump settings correct for you? Are you experiencing pain or discomfort when pumping? Something as simple as replacing an old part or getting the right flange size and style can make a huge difference in your milk output. I've seen it so many times. The milk supply is there, but we're just not getting it out. Right? Oh, that hurts me. That's why we're here. That's why we've made this course for you. You can also increase removal efficiency by adjusting how many times a day you pump. And I think this is probably the most common go-to is well, I'm not making enough, so I'm going to pump more. Pumping more is not always the answer, but sometimes the schedule is the problem, that we are not consistent or not pumping enough. If you're already pumping 8 times a day, I would not go more than that. A mom recently commented and said she was pumping 12 times a day and still had low supply. And I'm like, whoa, that's way too much. Let's figure something else out. You can also try and stimulate more letdowns during your pumping session. You can use hand expression or breast compressions to really drain the breast as well as possible. Again, figuring out if you're in the right flange size and things like this. There are so many things you can do to help better respond to your pump, which is a robot, remember? Also recommend checking for blockages or milk stasis, right? We don't want engorgement or clogged ducts. If you're well draining your breast every time, then we won't end up with those things that can actually decrease milk supply pretty significantly. And then make sure you're getting enough rest. I know it sounds like a joke, but pumping can be your moment to relax as well. All right, so have a comfortable seat, hydrate, make sure you have the best possible mental and emotional support. This is a really challenging time for moms, and stress and anxiety can not only affect your milk output in the moment, but also long term. In fact, that is the top piece of the proficient pumping pyramid, which we cover in that Pumping Efficiently course. Mental and emotional status affects milk supply, so it's not something we can overlook. Okay, number 4, another really popular question is, how do you know your flange size? Why this matters is using the wrong flange size can actually cause discomfort, decrease your milk output, potentially damage your breast tissue, and could limit your letdowns and milk flow. The flange is part of the pump that goes around the nipple. Okay, it's the part that touches the breast. And they come in several different sizes. Most pumps kind of come with the standard 21 or 24 millimeters. But in my experience, a significant portion of mothers need sizes smaller than that. So before pumping, make sure you have the right flange size. Measuring your nipple to get the right flange size is not difficult, and you can do it at home with minimal tools and effort. But a base measurement alone is not enough. You will also need to do some experimenting. Getting an accurate base measurement is also kind of tricky. I've seen lots of clients incorrectly self-size themselves, but really you need more than just a measurement anyway. Nipples have a variety of different shapes, lengths, elasticity, and so many other variations that I've seen over the years. But you can actually learn how to do self-flange sizing in our Pumping Efficiently course. And I want you, again, to be your own pumping expert. So it's important to me that you know what you're looking for so that you can adjust, because you're probably going to have to adjust this a few times in your pumping journey because your flange sizing can change. So I want you to know you. That's my goal. Again, to learn more about flange sizing, we do have another video on the channel, or again, that Pumping Efficiently course will walk you through every detail of how to do it yourself. Here are a few signs that you might be in the wrong size. If your nipple is stretched far into the tunnel or pulled too tight, if you see a lot of areola being sucked in as well as the nipple, if you have pain, discomfort, numbness, or if you have marks after pumping, or if your milk output feels low despite you're doing all the other things right. All right, and my bonus tip for you in this video here, number 5, is to keep experimenting. Now, here's the answer to a question that nobody really asked in the comments of the Pumping Efficiently video, but that I think is one of the best tips that I could give any breastfeeding mother. Knowledge is power. Right? Do you remember how many hours you spent reading about your baby's development during pregnancy, week after week, or how much time you spent learning about labor and delivery? And I'm sure that knowledge brought you peace. You probably weren't terrified when your belly started growing or startled when your baby moved because you knew those things were supposed to happen. The same goes for breastfeeding and pumping. I like to tell all of my students that while you are unique, you're not that unique. So there are some aspects of pumping that are very specific to you, but others that are just universal. Scientifically proven facts, this is just how it works. Pumping is more of an art than an exact science. And I know we've talked about that before on the channel. There aren't set rules or cookie cutter guidelines that can work for everyone. You really need to find what works best for you and how you uniquely respond to a breast pump, which is just a machine. If there were exact settings to use or the perfect flange sizing formula, I would just tell you right here. But making it work for you is key to your success and really finding that balance between the science of pumping and the art of it. I really want you to understand the why behind what you're doing so that you can continue to adjust and adapt as your baby, your life, and your supply adjusts and adapts. I'm so proud of you for being here, watching this video. It really shows how committed you are to your breastfeeding journey and how much you want to succeed. Keep learning, keep experimenting, and find that self-detective mindset to want to learn about yourself. That's how you can, one, be the most successful, but two, also enjoy this challenging experience in your life. Understanding your body, your pump, and your milk supply will give you the power you need to find peace and enjoyment in this stage of your life. So these are 5 simple steps to pumping efficiently, right? Recognize and increase letdowns. Really master that process. Find ways to maximize your pumping time and fully empty your breasts in the shortest amount of time possible. Understand your unique supply and don't settle if you're not ready. Optimize your flange size and keep learning and experimenting. If you want to go deep on every single piece, from the exact flange fit, pump settings, schedules, techniques, mindset, and materials, that's exactly what our Pumping Efficiently course offers. There's a link below down in the description if you want to learn more and get started. Start cutting down your pumping time and boosting your milk output with calm, confidence, and peace. You're doing hard work. Even small improvements will make a big difference. You deserve pumping sessions that are efficient and feel good. Thanks for being here, investing in yourself and in your baby. If you've experienced letdowns differently or found your flange size change, drop a comment below and tell me. I would love to know, and other moms love learning down there as well. And if you know someone who would love this video, share it with them. All right, good luck. Happy pumping.